I don't remember a time when Daryl and I did not have a little sister. Marissa came along when I was not even 4 years old. Named for our grandfather Marcus, she quickly became the object of our affection and adoration. At age 3, she took to wearing sunglasses, affecting a Hollywood persona. When she walked into the kitchen all glammed up, my mom asked her, "Are you Marilyn Monroe?" "No." "Are you Bridget Bardot?" "No." "Well, then who are you?" She said, "I'm Hussy." We still have no idea who she was talking about. As she entered kindergarten, she began to sing. And she loved the classics. You know, Skinnamarink-Dinky-Doo, I Love You, Hi-Ho Jolly Peppers, and Oh, in the Sweetest Little Voice. She also learned to write songs. At age 5, she wrote her first love song to her first love, Tootsie Rolls. And I think we can all appreciate the magic that Tootsie Rolls had on that little 5-year-old. We had a wonderful time growing up. First the 3 of us, and then our little mascot came along, Toby. And there were a lot of songs and games and fun and mischief in those years. Things changed with our parents' divorce. We grew up and we moved on. Life's stresses and challenges were difficult for Marissa. She was sweet and warm and loving and vulnerable, and the world that she encountered was rough and cold and demanding and bruising. To paraphrase the poet, I could have told you, Marissa, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. She proved challenging to me, too. I'm a problem solver, but I couldn't fix these problems. My magic wand had no power over her. My patience and kindness and love was tested. But I have been fortunate to have others show me the ways of patience and kindness and love. And Jeffrey, the best ex-husband in history. Marissa knew that you still were always there for her. Alan, your kindness and generosity, as we've often discussed over lunch, have left me in awe. Hanan and Lisa, you were there in the biggest ways when Marissa and Brianna and Alex needed you most. And Florine, I have always watched you as you have always been there. And finally, my senior partner, my bride, Andy, you know, you became the sister that she never had. She had us. She needed a sister, and she got one in you. It's as if all of you got together to co-author a book called Brotherly Love for Dummies. Bless you. And I tried to learn. In recent years, for example, Marissa and I would go to dinner often. We'd go to the movies. She loved the same kind of trashy, violent movies that I love, and she often was the only one that would go with me. We generally had a great time. Do I have regrets? Yes. I should never have talked her into seeing Guardians of the Galaxy 2. 2 hours of our lives gone forever. Since Sunday, and for the first time in my living memory, I no longer have a sister. What I do have are 3 beautiful nieces. Lisi and Alex and Brianna are Marissa's most splendid accomplishments and lasting legacy. And as we met to prepare for today, the girls remembered Marissa with such fondness and love, and I know that Marissa's memory will be cherished by all those who were touched by her, but I know that her memory will be especially honored and protected by the three of you. I also want to assure you that your mother will live on in you. As was said long ago in the Old Testament, place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm. For love is as strong as death, its jealousy unyielding as the grave. It burns like a blazing fire, like a mighty flame. Many waters cannot quench love, rivers cannot sweep it away.
I didn't really prepare any remarks to make here today. I just had a few thoughts that I wanted to mention about what I always referred to as my favorite sister. And whenever I would tell her she was my favorite sister, she would say, "I'm your only sister." And I would have to agree with her. That was certainly true. And of course now we're down to no sister. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here and for your love and support expressed generally and specifically. I have one relative that made it here not finding out about it until about an hour ago. So thank you. And also that love and support right back to each and every one of you as you need it. And I think that this sort of thing, I've mentioned to a few people, brings to each of us a little note of our own mortality. And of course, while my sister is now gone way too soon, way too soon, we aren't any of us here forever. So it gives you pause to think about everything, yourself, my sister, everything. As far as a few thoughts as far as familial togetherness, I remember one time years ago that I was in line at Star Deli at 12 in Telegraph. I'm sure we're all well acquainted with it. And I remember looking up in front of me. There was a long line. It was on a Sunday. Everybody was there. And I look in front of me about 5 places in line, and there's Wayne waiting to get some food. And I happen to glance behind me 5 places in line, and there's Jeff waiting to get some food for Marissa. So we were all there at the same time and do have a lot of things in common that we always share. Another thing that we always share is Wayne, Marissa, Toby, and I, is these records that we used to listen to when we were young, Jewish records, and then of course the Mikado and one thing and another. And in recent years we've one or the other of us would remark to the other just the punchline from one of the jokes on one of these records. And it was one of the things Marissa would always respond to if we were sharing an email or a text, that she remembered the punchline or she remembered the joke or she had a story related to one of whatever the particular joke off the record happened to be. A couple of other things that just occurred to me. Years ago, Marissa, Jeff, and the kids had a dog that was named Julius. And Julius, I guess, was a female dog, so I'm not sure about the Julius, but that's how it was. And poor Julius had a health issue where I guess he'd had a seizure or something like that, and had to go to the vet and come back. And after that, I said he, it's a she. The she was okay. And ever after that, whenever the dog's topic of the dog or the name would come up, I would refer to the dog as Julius Seizure. And Marissa would get mad at me every time I do it, so I'd have to sometimes not mention it. The only, could go on for hours with memories and stories, but the one more that really occurs to me that I like to mention is my mother, Bubby Ruthie, called me up one morning many years ago at 6 a.m. when I was, of course, passed out asleep, to excitedly inform me that Marissa had just given birth to her first child. And I had told you that I would tell you this story, so here it is. So I'm half asleep, and my response was, am I an uncle or an aunt? And then, of course, grumbling about having to get up that early. I also mentioned that to my mom that it's 6 a.m. Could this not have waited till later this morning? And she said, well, I wanted you to know first thing. And I said, well, if you told me at 10 a.m. when I just got up, as opposed to 6 a.m. and awakened me, it would still be the first thing I had heard that day. So what was the big rush? So sorry about that, Elise. Anyway, as I said, there's so many memories, stories, could go on forever, but I'm going to leave it at that with, once again, thanks to everybody for being with us here and lending us your support. We're certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
So first off, I want to start with thanking you all for being here. We know it would have meant the world to our mother, seeing how many people were here to show their love and support for her and our family. But most of all, our mom would have been ecstatic to have all three of us here together getting along, probably for one of the first times ever. Raising three daughters is a difficult thing for anyone to accomplish. Our mom made it her goal to master this challenge. Raising us was the hardest and, to quote our mother, the best thing she has ever done. Through some force and some Jewish mom guilt, she always reminded us, one day all you guys will have is each other, to stop our constant bickering. We never realized that day would come so soon. Our mother taught us to be strong, supportive, and passionate. If we couldn't stand up for ourselves, she wouldn't hesitate to step in, no matter the circumstances. I remember in second grade, one of my bigger classmates had stolen my binder. My mom actually happened to be at the school that day and went up to the kid, yelled at him while she marched him right down to the office after retrieving the binder. Our mother had always made time for us, whether it was long phone calls just to vent or an ear to listen and make us feel better, or just to tell her about one of the mischievous things her grandkids, our dogs, had done. She always loved hearing these stories, especially if it had involved my dog peeing on me, which I hate to admit was way more often than it should. Every phone call with her was never less than 15 minutes. No matter how much I kept repeating myself or crying or being completely irrational, my mom always knew what needed to be said in the right moment, whether it be support, anger, or just to laugh with me.
Our mom's mission in life had been to be the best mother she had always wished her own mother had been to her. She strove to be loving, honest, supportive, and understanding, and she was all those things and more. She worked her hardest to make us see ourselves through her eyes, to not beat ourselves up over trivial things, but to be proud of ourselves for both our big life accomplishments and the small everyday ones. She taught us to appreciate everything we have, family, friends, and also simple pleasures like favorite songs, food, or a good joke. Our mom was a lover of music, mainly classic rock, but she also had a soft spot for rap. I remember when I was around 14, I was waiting to be picked up at my friend Lorne's house. All of a sudden, her room starts shaking from the loud bass coming from the street, so we peek out the window to see what kid's blasting rap music. Lo and behold, it was my mom, sitting there in the driveway, bopping along at full volume to her favorite Tupac song, Dear Mama. That was the first track on a Mother's Day CD I had made her that year. Man, did she love that song. She played it on repeat through the entire Mother's Day brunch and the next 6 months. She was never afraid to overplay the music or movies she loved. This was also the same with her fashion choices. It was either black on black or bedazzled anything and everything. A fashion choice we, as her daughters, were never at a loss for finding a new way to tease her about. She never minded this teasing, though, because she was both confident and had an incredible sense of humor. This is how she taught us to both always be ourselves and to not take life too seriously. She loved to laugh and was always taking our jokes one step further, leading to hours of nonstop giggling and inside jokes. These moments of unfiltered joy and laughter between us will now be the memories that we hold the dearest.
Like all children that grow up, the special bond that they share with their mother changes. So did mine and my sisters. But through everything we all went through, our mom was always, without fail, our biggest supporter, fan, and advocate. No matter what we did or said, even if it wasn't the best decision, in our mom's eyes, we could do no wrong. As a child, if there was a teacher, or really anyone I didn't get along with, I would use my go-to leverage with my mom by telling her, "Well, Mom, that person picks their nose and eats it." Instantaneously, she would be on my side. There are many words that come to mind when I think of my mom. Entertaining, loving, funny, but mostly compassionate. Although our mother was fighting her own battle with recovery, she was constantly trying to help others in similar situations by bringing friends into her home to help them stay on the right path. No matter what, she always had a passion for helping those in need. One of the last conversations we had with her, she couldn't contain her excitement over her new volunteer position, making Shabbat dinner and delivering them for Friendship Circle. She was easy to talk to and an even better listener. And boy, let me tell you, she loved to listen almost as she loved to talk. We all know how much our mom loved us girls and brothers, especially Toby, according to him. But you probably don't know our mom's real love, her ice cream, specifically Haagen-Dazs coffee. I knew it developed into a real addiction when I saw she started having it delivered to her house. Instead of judging, I wrote down that return address and ordered myself 4 pints of my own favorite ice creams. I know she would be proud of me for following in her footsteps. Although our mother has left us, it brings us comfort knowing that she is finally at peace and most likely up in heaven throwing it down with Tupac and her BFF Dana. We love you, Mom.
It is with a heavy heart that I stand before you today to talk about my amazing cousin who was taken too soon. Most of you know her as an adult, but I remember her as a fun child with the most beautiful laugh. She was my older cousin, who was more like a sister I idolized. In fact, she would always call me her sister, and I really felt like it when she asked me to be her maid of honor when she married Jeff. As a child, we would play double solitaire for hours. We would make up dance routines and present them to her mom and our Bubby. They actually thought we'd make it to Broadway. Sorry, Bubby, to disappoint. She was a beauty with her high cheekbones and her perfectly made-up face. Yes, she was a model. She had style, which I tried to emulate. As we got older, we would share clothes, and of course, we would always go to Levine Beauty Supplies to find the perfect lipstick color. Thank you, Riss. At age 16, she came to live with us for a short while because she had such an amazing bond with my mother. They were so much alike, full of laughter and amazing zest for life. Mom would sneak her into dance clubs at age 16 where they would dance the night away. They also shared a bond, their demons. I stand before you today not to judge or blame her, but to remember her kind and generous heart who let her demons win. Know that she was the most sentimental and caring person I have ever known, as was evident with her house filled with beautiful pictures of her family, which she adored. She had pictures of my brothers that I had not seen in years. It's very hard as a daughter not to be mad at your mom for letting her demons win. I know I struggled with it for years, but I promise you it does not serve you. The demons are not who she was. She was a mom who loved her girls with all her heart. Family was her true love. I would call our last conversation on February 6th. I know the date because it was my birthday, and she would always remember. She beamed with joy when she spoke of her girls. I'm still waiting for the pictures of them walking on water. The girls and I found on her computer a beautiful letter she wrote, which they are allowing me to share today. My dearest and very sweet Lisi, Alex, and Bana. The most important thing I want each of you to know is that you are everything to me. When I went through some of the hardest times, it was the three of you that kept me going. I love you with all my heart, and the three of you are the best things that ever happened to me. She did an amazing job of raising you because you are such loving and caring human beings, and I'm honored to be your aunt. They say you cannot choose your family, but I would absolutely choose Marissa. I love you, and you will always be in my heart.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one additional note that some of what I'm listening to caused me to remember, which is Tracy's absolutely right. Marissa did love her daughters, and she left us with three wonderful, beautiful, loving daughters. I just wanted to mention that, and thank you.
This is the last birthday card she sent me. I got it a month beforehand. She usually was like that. I get my birthday cards a month beforehand. On my birthday, she'd give me a call. And this particular birthday, she called me up and immediately told me what she wanted for her birthday. As some will say, the mother-child bond is the strongest, most enduring bond of family relationships. But the truth is, it's the older sister, younger brother. Marissa was my older sister, and I'm the only person in the world who can say that. There was almost someone else who could have said that. My mom had a tubular or ectopic pregnancy before I was born, a little girl who did not make it. What would have been Marissa's younger sister, but no. As I understand, my parents wanted 4 children. There was already Wayne and Daryl, Marissa, and a little girl who was not to be. So they tried again, and they got me. So instead of a little sister, Marissa got a little brother. She was 5 years, 1 month, 5 days older than me. Some of my earliest memories is of her face and mine making noises in baby talk and me flailing wildly and giggling. I lived in her room for the first years of my life in a crib, and then we had twin beds next to each other, just like Lucy and Desi. On occasion, I would run away from her to the hall linen closet and make my new home on the bottom shelf, but I'd always return. I had no choice. I believe we also took baths together, but I only really recall one. Through Mr. Bubble, I noticed that she did not have a penis. And when I questioned her about it, where she was hiding it, she told me that she had something called the virgin. I didn't believe her. I got out of the bathtub, traipsed into the kitchen where my mom was, and I told her what had transpired. To my amazement, she told me Marissa was correct, not lying, and another of life's milestones passed. That was my last bath with my sister. But that did not stop her from dressing me up as a girl or a young woman, her pseudo-sister. She would take me to our mom's closet and put wigs on me and dresses. This did not cause any long-term psychological problems, as my wife and children can attest. Marissa also provided entree to the first club I was ever a part of, the Kitty Cat Club, or KCC. The two of us were the only members. Being a member of the club involved staying up late and sneaking around the house and eavesdropping on my mom's telephone conversations. We also had our own secret hug and kiss, known as a boobala hug and kiss, where we would squeeze each other till the life was almost out of us, and then kiss and put fingers up like that. With that type of love between us, it's hard to imagine I would replace the baby or talcum powder she had in the bowl with a powder puff with Ajax. But she told me that story, and I don't really remember it, but she said I did it.
So maybe I've created the memory. I think it was a lark, and I was doing it, and I was going to tell her about it, but somehow got sidetracked. It slipped my mind until I heard her screaming, because I guess she had applied it down below, and it did not feel too nice. Although on the bright side, that might have been how I came up with her nickname, which was Wrist Puff, or Puff, or the Puff. And one of the things the Puff taught me was how to make a wish upon a wishbone. And even though it might seem like a little voodoo, I'd like to close with that. I have this one right here. I was saving for the next time I saw her. So without further ado, it would go something like this. She would say, we'd both be holding it like this. She'd say needles, and I'd say pins. And then she'd say, what goes up the chimney? And I'd say smoke. Then she'd come back with, my wish or your wish shall never be broken. And we'd each pull on it. And whoever got the largest piece would get their wish. So, my wish for Marissa, my sister, my only sister, I hope when it came, it was painless, maybe even enjoyable. I hope you weren't scared, and I hope you are no longer lonely, and I hope you are at peace. And if it's possible, I'll see you soon. And if it turns out it's not possible, I'm so happy, so lucky you are my sister. I love you.
This concludes our service.